give it up to Dave Dreffs. Microphone, I don't know if it's working. Yep.
Microphone, guy must be mad.
Okay. All right. Where's the remote at? So some people like to end the presentation with a quote. I like to start the presentation with a quote. And I found this last night. I thought it was a pretty neat quote, and it relates kind of to all of our trials, tribulations, things with buying a new technology, buying a new scanner or software, taking an investment with a company, or asking your company for a big investment. Is it worthwhile? Is my favorite part. That worthwhile. So is it worthwhile to make an investment to start scanning or start a new technology? So for me, everybody's had this aha moment, like, oh, I bought this new technology, and it finally works. So that's my son. He's excited because something finally worked, and that's how I feel sometimes when I go out and get a new technology and it works. So for me, for scanning, this is where I started. So I started scanning at Ford Motor Company or at Troy Design. I was excited. I had my aha moment the first time I was able to register a scan cloud. The first time I successfully registered a scan cloud and found out that it was accurate, and I think that's a tough feat in itself. First time I did a collision detection in Navisworks, found the value prop out of creating a model and taking scan data and putting them together. The first ROI on a project, getting money back, finding out that we didn't have to spend our whole budget on doing this project. We actually saved money and showed the customer that we saved money, which is really tough. But how long did it actually take me to get there? That was a long time. We bought the technology. We had it for 6 months traveling around somebody's car before they figured out that it was valuable. We had to find the right person to put it in their hands to use that technology, to find the right software, have the right computers. All these things are tough to align together, and it's a tough feat. So what do? Do you go out and hire somebody that you have no idea if they do quality work or not? So it's a long road. So how did we get there? Well, I'm a consultant at Autodesk. I specialize in factory and scanning. So this is where I'm at today. So companies will hire us to do project work because we specialize in that. Chad is one of those that interacts with companies that they specialize in a certain field. So a customer may come out and hire you to do their civil for them because Civil 3D better than anybody else, or Revit better than anybody else. And it's hard to say. One person doesn't do everything. Autodesk Consulting does a lot of different things, but like myself, I don't do everything. I do one little thing out of the company. So we had some interesting projects in this last year that I've been with Autodesk. One of them recently, just this last quarter, we scanned about 8 million square feet of space using a variety of different scanners. I think it was about 6 weeks worth. We took about 8,000 scans between Faro data and linear data. Pretty interesting. It's a large site, indoor, outdoor, aerial. The P3D system, really interesting system, captures data very, very fast. Really surprised with the accuracy. If you guys haven't seen that yet, it's surprising to me that the data came out the way it did. It's very complete. Kind of hard to explain like that, but I'm sure Chad will be able to fill you in. The UAV/drone, there's the two different types. UAV is anything that somebody flies. Like this device is actually a UAV, so we're flying it. It gives us different opportunities with our customers. Some of them don't like the word drone. It sounds like we're Amazon coming in, dropping some packages off, but we're actually just flying over the site. But being a UAV, it's manned by a person. Different regulations that go with it, which means somebody's flying it. It's not off on its own. It's got a home base, come home to in case you lose signal, something like that. So we had an opportunity to fly this UAV, which we have a few of them with an Autodesk. Has a lot more control which means we told our company that we were going to that, hey, we're going to come and fly for free, since that's the regulation that we have to stick to right now. We're going to take some images of your site using a UAV that will fly. It's a low-weight vehicle. Fly during the day over a site where nobody will be standing underneath. It has a home base in case it loses signal. It has a lot of safety features that go with it. So a few hurdles we had to jump through. And I'm sure looking at these devices, they're great. They capture the data excellent. You get a lot of value out of them. But how do you approach a customer and say, hey, I want to fly a drone on your site? And they're like, what? That sounds cool, but how am I going to let the 1,000 people that are in the building know that there's something flying ahead, and they didn't know what it was. So some interesting hurdles. And it actually wasn't too bad. We had like a few meetings and said, hey, this is what it is. This is what it looks like. We've done it on other sites, but pretty neat. Surveying is always important. We have a great technology here using this scanner. It's very accurate, but on a large scale, you need some survey control that helps you maintain that scale. And surveying's been around a long time, so all of our customers know what surveying is. Anybody that owns a facility or that has a site, because you're always going somewhere and doing work, you can always come in and say, I have survey control that I'm going to bring in, ground control, points that you're going to tag on a marker. You hire an engineering surveyor, you do it yourself. But that's a technology that people can trust. So they know the accuracies, they're proven out, more proven out than these laser scanners have been out for 15 years. It's easier for me to come in and say, hey, I have a licensed surveyor that's been through the correct courses to run a survey for me. So it's useful in a few different areas. I'll dig into that a little bit later, but up front we can align all of our scan data with using survey data. We can also use the markers that are left behind to maybe set machinery, take measurements off since they have XYZ locations. So we'll get into that. And then the Faro scanner, we keep talking about that all day. We'll dig into it a little bit. So a factory's got a lot of different groups in it. We talked about factory scanning, and it's like, what level do you even approach somebody? I want to come and scan your factory. Factory relates to anything architectural. So we've got starting at the factory level, we've got people working on the floor. How can they use our data? What's the point of us bringing laser data or photogrammetry data to that level? Or do they need it? All the way up to the engineering people in the front office, value prop. Where do we show them the value prop? Those are the guys that are going to pay for it. So we can show that down the road here. So here's our main concerns, challenges, what's going to happen in any given overall. And these are just pretty general. But how long does it take to do a scan? Are we actually getting the value out of our scan? Does our customer know how to use it? Are we giving them the proper training that goes with the scan data? And the team that goes with it. Do we give them training right off the bat? Do we just sell it as a service, or do we put a guy in site for 6 months to help run that whole project? So a lot of things that we really need to hustle through to sell that scan, sell the value that goes with it. So our scanning technology has changed quite a bit in this last couple of years. I thought I had it all figured out when I started at Autodesk a year ago. I came in from Troy, Ford, and I had a process flow that I knew really well that I created. It was accurate, it was fast, it was efficient. My first day at Autodesk, they dropped recap on my plate and said, hey, learn this. I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was what it was. The alignment, very fast and efficient. We actually cut our time on site down about 30%, 30-40%, depending on the type of site, just by reducing, not using spheres, less equipment that we had to handle. So a lot of things that go with that. But the back end, so beyond aligning the data, we get a ton more out of our value that we get from a scan. So right off the bat, we get these high quality pictures that are embedded in the scan when you're using Recap Pro. If you're flying through a scan, you can see this mirror ball view, which has a panoramic picture embedded in it. Very, very, very useful. You can put asset tags in there. You can take measurements. Very useful. The RCS, RCP format. So I go out and take a scan with a Faro scanner or ZNF. There's 5 scanners that Recap supports right now. You align it while you're on site. You align it after you're on site, either way. As soon as you're done aligning, you can use the data natively. You don't have to export the data. You can keep it as an RCP file. You can open it in Revit or Civil or AutoCAD or Navisworks, Inventor. You're opening it as a native file, and I think that's something pretty important. Just a year ago, we were exporting it as 3 or 4 different file formats to open it in different types of software. So we unified this type of format. I think it's a game changer. It's reducing the amount of data that we're putting on our servers, that we're storing for our customers. It's an easier handoff, and the things that are coming down the road, in this 2016-ish release, is pretty amazing. So you'll see that advance even farther. The next use that we get out of it is the scanorama, or that panorama picture that gets loaded up onto A360. I think we'll jump into that in a second. But this is our new process flow. So we go out and we collect data. We get survey if needed, depending on the size of the project. We align and recap, and then direct use. So again, just kind of my process flow before was probably like 20 different boxes all over the place and scattered. This is a nice, neat workflow, pretty straightforward. These are the softwares that we currently support with this native point cloud. So pretty neat stuff. Any questions so far? All right.
How big do your files get?
Depends on how many scans we have. So we just did that roughly 8,000 scans, and we have 150 billion points in that single point cloud, which we're able to open up in Navisworks. I had it open in Navisworks on my desktop. Wouldn't quite open it on a Mac like this, but on a desktop machine, pulling maybe 20 or 30 gigs of RAM, you can open almost a terabyte of data and maneuver through it. So the difference between the 2014-2015 product line even is we're looking at the data a little bit differently. We're rendering the data out in voxels. So in chunks of data, we're able to render this massive point cloud. So we're not actually pulling in that terabyte of data at one time. It's all there. It's visually there, but those voxels help us visualize the data, more effectively, faster. So, yeah.
What's a typical file size, and how do you share it?
So file sizes depend on how you segment the data. So that large data set, I'll align that data set and have it as one big file, but as the customer, they don't take a terabyte of data and drop it on the server and expect to run it. So we'll actually chop the data down for them. Depending on the regions, on how they want to segment it up, sometimes we segment it right down to the bay. So like a 50 by 50 chunk, we'll segment out. Those can be 800 meg to a gig a piece. Those will stream pretty well on a server. But if we're looking at large segments, they don't have to be chunked out. We can get anywhere between 15 and 20 gigs, and they run seamlessly on this software, or any of our softwares are very efficient. So this if you haven't used our 15 products yet, they've integrated this RCP, RCS engine into all the products 100% now. Yes, last year it was partial. This year it's a full integration. All right. So planning a job. So I'm talking about large-scale jobs. Small jobs, you get a scanner, send anybody out, go ahead and do it. We like those for doing jobs like this where we need to know like small things. But when you're scanning a factory, there's not too many small factories. I consider small something under 100,000 square feet. Anything over that 100,000 square foot mark, you start to add complexity. So there's a method that goes to using Recap Pro. So you can just run out there and use it, but when you want to increase your accuracy, when you want to have a nice, accurate point cloud, you build some redundancies and you learn a method to scanning. Pre-planning your jobs is very important. So going out to the site, learning the conditions. We like to take an aerial view if it's outside, or an AutoCAD drawing and pre-plan how many scans we're going to do. Roughly estimate for our scan technicians, depending on the conditions that are out there. Are we going to be climbing? What kind of equipment do we need to bring out? The PPE that's needed, and then do some pre-planning for the environment. So if it rains,